Ooh, welcome everyone. We love Restream, and I kind of been goofing around a little bit with how I do things. So we'll just I will try it this way, and while my guests are introducing themselves, I will figure out how to fix it. Welcome everyone. I'm Debra Eckerling, author, goal strategist, book proposal specialist, and author of Your Goal Guide and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. And every week I bring together some of my people. Today it's like they're back. I should never try and sing. Jim Fuhs and Bob Woods, who are joining me. They've been on talking about Substack before. They will come on talking about Substack again. There is so much power into the little platform that could. And I'm just excited to dive in with them again today. Again, I'm Debra Eckerling. I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And apparently I should be doing Substack. And you can also, I'm getting nods. It is also released as the GoalChat podcast on the Marketing Podcast Network. So whether you're watching us live or the replay or listening to us, we're so glad you're here. And today talking about Substack. So I'm going to bring on my guests to introduce themselves while, again, I figure out how the heck to get us all three on the screen at once. But in the meantime, welcome, Jim Fuhs. Who are you and why do you love Substack?
Well, who am I? That's like one of those existential questions, right? I'm Jim Fuhs. I'm the president of Fuhsion Marketing. I'm a retired Marine lieutenant colonel turned digital marketer back in the mid 2010s. And I've become a huge fan of Substack because not only can it allow you to write, but it also allows you to use video and audio. And really, as I learned from Christopher Lochhead of the Category Pirates, it is a direct to creator platform, which makes it unique in category design. And that's where it's different from some of the other platforms people use to go put videos on. So I'm a huge fan of it because it helps you build community. You get email subscribers, and they keep improving its capabilities. In fact, we're live on my Substack if you want to go over there to Substack. And I just did a note where I tagged Bob and Deb as well. So we're all over the place, but we're here.
Amazing. Love it. Well, thank you so much. And your enthusiasm for Substack is definitely well received. I do know that we've got, I'm on the board of Women's National Book Association, San Francisco chapter, and we just did our annual Pitchorama. And in talking about platform building for authors, it was very, in prepping people for it, it was very Substack. It is great when you're visible on other platforms, but this is definitely a great way to keep you visible. And we will, of course, talk more about that, but we need to meet Bob first. Well, I know Bob, but I feel like other people, if you don't, okay, Restream, I love you, but stop bugging me.
There we go.
There you are. Hi,
There
Bob.
we
Welcome. Great to see you.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you. So my name is Bob Woods. I'm with Social Sales Link. We do social selling by primarily using channels like LinkedIn. LinkedIn is still our big one, but now we are looking at Substack as well so that people can really start sales conversations without being salesy. A lot of that comes through content. And one of the things that we like about Substack is that there is broader reach for any type of content that you have, whether it's video, whether it's in the articles or posts. What are they calling that anymore, by the way? Is it articles or is it posts? I don't even know. There's like different things in different areas.
I think articles and posts are somewhat synonymous now. Because you do see people call them articles, but where before you only said post, but now I think you can say articles.
Yeah.
But neither one of them is a note.
Yeah, exactly. Notes. Yeah, notes are like posts on LinkedIn. So we are still very big believers in LinkedIn in that it still is the best way to network and to build relationships because of the first degree, second degree, that aspect of it that Substack doesn't have, in my opinion, probably should never have. Whereas what Jim said before, just having to be a direct publishing platform, I think it's important to have that element in your content distribution as well. But as long as you're doing the type of content, especially when you're in sales, which is what I do, when you have that content and it is out there educating people, letting them know what they should know and not what you want to talk about yourself as a salesperson, that is key to everything, no matter where you're posting, whatever content it is that you're posting, essentially. So I'm still a big LinkedIn fan. I'm also a big Substack fan. They both can exist within a strategy.
They can indeed. And just so you all know, the links I'm sharing today are not your websites, they are your Substacks. And I am
Oh, that's
throwing
fine.
mine in the mix as well. One of the, and you're absolutely right. Let me try and say 3 sentences that are slightly related, but not really at the same time. I think a common thread between LinkedIn and Substack is you are a resource. That's what we say about LinkedIn all the time. You are a resource, not a resume. And I think it's the community aspect of Substack that makes you as the resource found a little bit more readily, right? So
Yeah.
am I right, wrong, care to expand? How do these do play very well together? Since we already started down that road, let's keep going.
Yeah, so one of the things that I like about Substack anymore, especially as opposed to LinkedIn, has to do with some of the algorithm changes that LinkedIn has been going through. LinkedIn now has what's called 360 Brew. I call it what have I been calling it lately? Nobody knows exactly what to call it because it's much more than an algorithm now. It's a resource engine or something like that. So LinkedIn has much less reach than it used to. That's if you think about it, people are like, that's bad, that sucks, or whatever. It's really not necessarily that because um, LinkedIn is now kind of forcing you into a very specific lane for what you want to be known as. So that with that, if your profile is positioned in that kind of one lane thing and all your content is positioned in that one lane thing, LinkedIn is going to push out your content specifically to people who are in that lane. So as opposed to an entire expressway where you've got a lot of people in a lot of lanes, there are naturally a lot fewer people in one lane, but it's going to be more of the lane that you want people attracted to you. With Substack, there's not necessarily like that really, really strict lane. And I do think this is where part of what I was saying before about how the Substack and LinkedIn can actually fit together in a content strategy. I think it's actually even bigger now than it was before because of the way LinkedIn and the direction that they're taking. Because now I know that when I want to post just specifically about the types of things that the people in my audience of prospects want to hear, I'll just do that on LinkedIn. But when it comes to some of the things that maybe go a little afield of what I do, but yet are still definitely related to what I do, um, I'll put that stuff more on Substack. So one of my big interests, besides doing what I do, is like health and fitness and things like that, specifically for salespeople. I won't put that on LinkedIn anymore because that will dilute the lane. LinkedIn won't know what to do with that content anymore, and no one's going to see it. I can put that stuff still on Substack and still attract a bigger audience because Substack wants you to have a bigger audience essentially, whereas LinkedIn is really in that kind of one lane strategy now.
Okay, I like the way that you phrased that. It feels like Substack wants to grow, and LinkedIn is is tunnel visioning you. I know that's not really a phrase, but who cares? It is now. What do you think, Jim?
Well, I think Bob brings up some really one good points, but interesting points as well, because I think where I see one of the big challenges with LinkedIn versus Substack is that the fact that Bob creates on LinkedIn makes him, in some aspects, an anomaly. Because if you actually look at the number of people that actually create content on LinkedIn, I want to say it's probably less than 5% is what I've heard.
Something like that, yeah.
And so, whereas on Substack, to actually be on the platform, you have to create. You know, you can't, I mean, sure, you could be a voyeur and just read people's stuff, but you have to create a profile. You either have to start, following other people if you want to see their stuff. You have to, engage with notes, which, I like I've told you before, I equate to the old Twitter. And that's one of the things I do like about it, because I was a big Twitter fan. So that's where I think Substack really, and especially like with what Bob is talking about, and I do this once in a while too. Like I may post some stuff on there that's like about my, health journey as an older person, but I wouldn't put it on LinkedIn. I might put it on Facebook Reels because they want you to just throw anything out there. But as far as LinkedIn, it'd be like, well, I thought you did video stuff. And so it's like, it really makes you say, well, yes, there are people out here, but one, are they going to see my stuff? Where at least now on Substack, especially if I create a note or an article, people are going to see it. If it's an article/post, which is on our publication, it's going to go out to my subscriber list. So I'm going to know how many of them saw it. And so I think that is, to me, one of the big differences, because I think even with LinkedIn newsletters, which you could equate, I guess, to articles/post on Substack, we almost, because of the way it comes into your inbox, we don't necessarily say, oh, I'm going to read that, because it's more generic, where we can kind of create that hook with Substack with our post, or I should say with our articles.
Yeah.
Now,
it's going to still be.
What were you saying, Bob?
Oh no, I was just say, yeah, the whole post versus article thing is going to be forever confusing until Substack finally commits to calling it one thing or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is, yes, not nearly enough people create content on LinkedIn. And because of that, when you do create content, it does get more visibility. And with that said, I wanted to say hi to Meryl Cass, who is watching live. We do have an anomaly. Our friend Chris Stone is watching us on Facebook, who says, who's this Jim guy? Now, for those who don't know, Chris and Jim, who have been on GoalChat together before, they co-host Dealcasters, and he just called me the best. So thank you. The feeling is mutual. You are all the best. Actually, whether you're watching or actually on my show, you are the best, because you are either sharing your knowledge and or committing to your goals, and we love that. I also want to say hello to Leslie, who is watching on LinkedIn. Thank you to Meryl, I think, invited all of the LinkedIn people. So hello to Leslie, and to Nicole, and to Jackie. And Chris is calling out you calling yourself an older person. Bob, thank you. Yes, Generation Xers for the win. The point being,
Got it.
Right? The point being, you need to show up a lot of different places. There are different ways you show up in the different places for different purposes. And you're right. Facebook is spaghetti. Throw whatever you want out there, and maybe the algorithm will like you, maybe it won't. And I do still broadcast to Facebook Live, because my original Right On community was on Facebook, and I do have some level of interaction. So I like that part. LinkedIn, where I get the most interaction, mostly because Meryl, who was introduced by a mutual friend, said, hey, I like this GoalChat, and I'm going to invite people to watch live every week, which I love, by the way. Thank you, Meryl. And then Substack, I know I still kind of sort of And I am on the Substack bandwagon, but there's some nuances on it that I need, that I believe other people need, which is why I bring you guys back every once in a while. And of course, I live to YouTube, and I don't think hardly anybody watches the YouTube live. So do you have a thought on that? I mean, it needs to be on YouTube for SEO.
Right.
It would be something you might try, but then it requires you, and I think Restream might let you do it, is, and Ecamm has started it with this whole dual mode, is you could go live to the shorts feed in vertical, but you would have to set up how we look on the vertical piece differently. Otherwise it, you know, would create some issues,
Yeah.
because they want people to go live there on the quote unquote short shelf. But it's funny because the landscape live will get different interaction than the vertical live. So it's I don't
It's
know, but so you
annoying.
can, it is. And over on Substack, just in case, because you may not have a Substack window open, we have Mitch Jackson just joined us. Mitch is a fabulous attorney, and not only is he a great lawyer, but he's also a great American. We have I think it's I'm going to probably butcher the name, Gitanjali Kopakar and Lucy Fur. So we've got people over on the stack. So it's good to see. And that was literally throwing it out there last minute, other than Bob's note. So that too shows you the power of Substack with live video, as it pops up and people start to see it. So I think that's something I like about it too. And I bet Restream's not giving you the live count on that one.
They are not. But
Yeah.
I do want, but you did bring up the title of this, which is The Power of Substack. And everybody, I don't want to say everybody. If you're tuning in, you likely know that you need to incorporate Substack into your strategy. Why?
Why?
Yes.
Why?
Why? Add one more thing to my social outreach. Do you want to start, Bob?
Yeah, so I think one of the big things is just discoverability. Especially because if you want to look at it from a LinkedIn versus Substack standpoint, when you do a post on a regular timeline post on LinkedIn, God, this is going to get a little when you do that on there, chances are it's not going to get out to like Google or to AI or anything like that. Sometimes posts do, sometimes, most of the time they don't. Sometimes they do. Lord knows why. Obviously, LinkedIn isn't going to say anything because LinkedIn is one of the most opaque systems out there. So who knows? When it comes to Substack, though, there's a lot more discoverability with that can help you not only with SEO but with AI discoverability as well. So I mean, I think that right there is just a really big reason why you should do it. Now, I do have to say that when it comes to LinkedIn articles and LinkedIn newsletters, those do get more discovery, and there is some things showing up now to where it might be a good long-term play to utilize those channels on LinkedIn, but Substack is going to be a lot more immediate for you, I think. So once upon a time, I advocated a strategy of like LinkedIn more for timeline posts and then Substack for some of the more article based types of things. I still believe that, but I've just now, speaking of LinkedIn newsletters, I literally just started a LinkedIn newsletter last week, and I repurposed and rewrote an older Substack article for LinkedIn and put that into my newsletter. So if you do publish on Substack, you actually can take some of that content, reword it and rewrite it and everything else, and then also link back to the original Substack article, just so you don't get hit with any kind of penalty. But that is a potential way to actually kind of use Substack and LinkedIn together to get a double bang for your buck, I guess is probably the best way to put it.
Okay, Good to know. Lots of little reasonings and tricks in there. And actually, we spoke at your office hours last Thursday, and I decided, so this will go up, the recap and the replay tomorrow on the devmethod.com/blog. And then on Thursdays, I re-upload to Facebook because they delete things. And also it goes out to the podcast, the audio platforms via Marketing Podcast Network. And I was doing a LinkedIn article as well. But because I was at your thing last Thursday, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put these up as part of my GoalChat newsletter every week. Why not?
Mhm.
And
Why not?
it did get more reach. Why put something up as an article when it can get more reach as a newsletter out to the universe? And it was just okay. I rewrote the intro. It always links back to the original blog post, which has more information, but I just tweaked the intro. And I kept in the goals and the final thoughts because that's kind of the meat and potatoes of, I mean, we do tend to go on, but I like to bring out the highlights for people. Okay, what are the quick hits? What did I learn? Great. What is something actionable? And able to call that out. So I like that idea for it. And I do need to do more on Substack, but we'll get more into that in a moment because we need to let Jim answer the question about the power of Substack. Why?
Why? Well, I like what Mitch Jackson said over on Substack, less noise, more conversation. That to me is a big part of it. And I think the fact that one, there is more conversation going on Substack. The number of even journalists that have come over there and, planted their flag and they're just going live, like sometimes multiple times a day, sharing, what do you want to call it? Unbiased, unfiltered news, right? Nobody's telling like, oh, you can't say that, which happens on some of these other platforms, I think is powerful. I think the fact that you can be, as I like to call it, multimodal, right?
Mhm.
You can be, you can share content in a variety of things. And I think the advantage of Substack, I'll say over majority of other platforms, is the ability to organize your publication in a way that makes sense for your subscribers, because they keep adding features like sections as an example. And a section in and of itself can be its own newsletter list. So if Bob wanted to add a section about, health and sales, he could put all his articles / post. I'm going to start saying that, Bob. That only relate to that, and I could say I just want those to be shared with me. I don't want to, hear about his other topics that are within his publication. Or we can take it a step further and create a whole different publication, and that subscriber list is independent of the other one. I think the other thing, in a way, I almost, if you want to use the Swiss Army knife analogy, on the back end of Substack, it allows you to repurpose your content quickly, easily.
Mhm.
I say half an hour, maybe less. When we're done here, because this is going to go into the back end of my Substack, I'll have AI clips in less than half an hour that I can share on social media. They will provide, the transcript of our conversation. And I always say another big advantage is, right, this all costs you $0.
Yep.
Right. And I think that is what people forget about, because repurposing is so important for your content, because you have these great shows. We're all guilty of it sometimes, and we forget to take some of the nuggets out because not everybody was able to come watch us
Sometimes.
live today. People weren't able to come watch us live today, and we forget to share about it. Or they may say come 6 months from now and they'll see something and they may go back and watch the full episode of that previous thing because they didn't know it existed, but it, helped answer a pain point. So that's what I think, it to me is, why Substack. And I think because when you look at other platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn in particular, if you do any sort of video on there, it's very hard to organize. I think even like Bob was talking about with the timeline, right? It's like, oh, where did that article go that I wrote at this certain time and place? So they don't make it easy for us to, in a sense, repurpose, reinvigorate old content where, Substack, because really your publication is a website in and of its, own self. You have a lot of power to organize. Recently, they added the ability to have headers and footers. So even in the footer now, you can have your socials for people to click and go check you out in other spots.
Now I'm going to go out of order because I don't want, because I want to. Well, you were talking about it is completely free, but there's also a way to charge for your Substack. So do either or both of you do that? And how do you make a premium subscription worth it for your people? And I got crickets again.
Yeah, Craig. Well, I actually did have I had a premium subscription set up as of the beginning of the year, but as we discussed at before in the proverbial green room, I've actually had some medical difficulties that have been keeping me away from doing a lot of stuff. So I took all that down essentially. Hopefully, I'm thinking that maybe later this year I may by the time I'm through with all this stuff, I definitely would like to put that back up personally. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're doing, Jim.
Yeah, I have a paid subscriber option, but I really don't have that many paid subscribers yet. So it's, one of the things I would like to do is offer my paid subscribers, like say a monthly Zoom where just they can come on and they can ask, questions, or we talk about topics. I haven't paywalled any of my content at this point. I just haven't seen that. But I also have created, as an example, I have a school, which is much more of a, community-based platform that I offer all my subscribers to join. And what I may do is the paid subscribers would maybe get a different tier in there than the free subscribers. So I haven't really done a lot with it yet. I almost, in a sense, because they don't make it easy for, if you want to call it, the proverbial tip jar, like a buy me a coffee or a Patreon. I haven't done that. So I kind of look at it, if you're a paid subscriber, I appreciate you, and you're showing me that you think my content is of value.
Mhm. Can I ask a question about that, Deborah, directly to him, or do we have that, or do we have that Chinese wall?
You have to ask in the private chat.
No, you can. Well, I actually was going to ask him a question, but you can go first.
Okay. Was gonna say mine may be quick. It might not be. I do like the potential model.
Like the show's only going to run an hour. You guys have been on
exactly.
We know the difference.
Exactly. I do like the potential model of Substack plus a school type of thing, which, by the way, people don't know, it's actually spelled SKOOL. You can set up communities there. You can sell stuff on there, content and things like that. I'm wondering, Jim, have you seen that be successful with others, or are you kind of creating a new thing here? Just because it's like one of those head tilt things for me. It's like, oh, that's really interesting. I
have seen it. I have seen it be successful with other folks. I think Vivica von Rosen is doing really well with incorporating school with her community, as well as her Substack, because she's kind of shifted, where she is. I know she's focused on women entrepreneurs and women making some of those changes with their careers. But I think also, even if you're familiar with Sue B. Zimmerman, who is a lot of people know as the Instagram queen, she's come over to Substack as well, done quite well. And even my former business coach, Kelly Roach, she has gone all in on Substack and is doing a lot with it. So I'm definitely seeing people have success, specifically with school. I know of Vivica. I know some other folks that are using it as a way to kind of have that coursework area. But you also got people using Circle, and then of course, even on the publication itself, you could have a link to Gumroad, your if you want to call it classic website. So there's a lot of different And that's what I like. There are different options. There's not like you can only do it this way.
Right.
What I'll be curious to see, because they have done a little bit and they keep adding these tweaks, is how would I put it? How original will you be able to make your publication in the future in as far as in concepts of design? Or will it always like have some limitations? And I think that's where that in and of itself could really create quite the dynamic for people that create, because then you'd be like, well, why do I need a WordPress site when I can just use my Substack?
Yeah, it makes you wonder if that's a direction that they're potentially going, which is interesting. I mean, because right now you kind of know, if you kind of know when you get to a Substack site, because it all has basically the same kind of look and feel to it. If you could get a little more dynamic with that, even though it may have like a custom URL. So like for my publication, I actually have a custom URL now that if you go, it's called More Than Quota. So morethanquota.com. That goes right to that, but it's not just a forward. It doesn't change that URL or anything like that. It actually stays More Than Quota. So so people who don't necessarily know that they're on a
Right.
Substack site. Say that 3 times fast.
And it's reminding me, remember in the olden days of Blogger? Remember how excited we were when you could customize
Mhm.
your blogspot.whatever.com,
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh
right?
God. Oh
Right?
God.
I'm
That's
totally
like
throwing back to that. I did have one other question about the paid stuff. If we're, and this is why I'm asking. So I lead as the book proposal expert. I do a strategic starting point workshop every month for people who want to get the lay of the land. The first half is demystifying publishing, and then the other half is laser coaching. And the way I have it set up is if you go to one, then you can continue to come every month. And you can either come the first half hour to get the refresh about how publishing works, the different elements for a book proposal, or you could just come at the second half and get that laser coaching. And this is what I want to make as for my subs. So I definitely put the cart before the horse. But for me, this is my offering to my premium Substack people, because the same price for a year as to attend one, and then you can keep coming back as long as you need. So how do I maneuver it so I can, do you know the answer? How do I maneuver it to grandfather in the people who are already in there
I
and
think
then
you can,
introduce it?
yeah, you can give them a coupon code. I think that'll give them that ability if you're doing it through Substack. The other thing too is you talked about annual. So you could make your annual subscribers get that specific piece where your monthly do not. So you can differentiate what one gets over the other, because maybe for them committing to a year, you're willing to give them more. Or even going back to what Bob talked about, those people that become paid subscribers get into like your school community, and you do all of those things inside of school. And so that allows you to, kind of manage them, because, if somebody's not paying, and I'm just guessing that this is your thought, is you're not going to let them keep coming. So that's how you're able to kind of, manage people coming in and out, is like, if they pay, they get this membership. If they don't, they're not allowed in the club, so to speak.
Okay, even more things to think about. Well, anybody who knows me knows how incredibly opposed to group programming I have been in the past, but most of my clients up until now have been customized, work with you, or done with you, done for you book proposals. But the more people I talk to, the more I know that they need the direction on the early side. So by the time they come to me, they're ready to move forward. So because of that, I am slowly dipping in my toe into creating a community, which again, I haven't been opposed to. It just has not been my business model. And I feel like Substack and I'm bringing it back here. I feel like Substack and the premium subscriptions is a way to give content to people before I'm even ready to create something like a school.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay. Now
Do it. Commit. Make that
Just
commitment.
do it. Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. Come on,
Okay,
Deb.
I'm getting goals on my own show, which is my own fault because I knew it was going to happen. I love that. So what about those people who are completely newbies? Because like I said before, we just did our 23rd annual Pitchorama, and it feels like Substack is the new shiny author platform building object because you get your subscribers' email, which you do not do with the LinkedIn newsletter. And B, it's a good place to show up and grow. So for those people who are like, and yes, we did have people who just created a Substack just so in their pitch they could say, I have a Substack. But now what? Okay, so what are those first steps for those people who are dipping their toe in and you kind of want to push them?
Bob, let's let you go first because you had to go through that much more recently. So what did you find was helpful?
Yeah. Well, I think I may reframe that a little bit more because that actually just gave me a goal.
Yay!
Is to potentially do a Substack post/article on on setting up Substack, but specifically for my audience, which is like B2B, professional B2C salespeople and things like that. Because I don't know if I could specifically speak to myself, just because I've set up these types of things on so many other different platforms that I basically knew what to do. It was just like the mechanics of things. How do I specifically do this? How do I specifically do that? I knew what I needed to be done. I just didn't know exactly how to do it on Substack. So, I do think though that when it comes to kind of that Substack, I don't even know if I'd call it 101, like 097 or something like that, one of those classes that you take before you even get started in college or university or whatever,
Oh, the prerequisite.
yeah,
Prerequisite,
that's
right?
it. There you go. Prereq is, number one, Substack is big enough that you've got all kinds of people out there who are already posting that type of material. So, definitely check out those things and see who you vibe most closely with, because there's probably going to be all different types of opinions and stuff like that. But you do have to determine your lane, I think, first. You do have to determine what you're going to be writing about, because I don't know, and maybe Jim knows a little bit more than I do about this, but even when it comes to Substack, people are picking and choosing their lanes based on the audiences that they want to attract and the audiences that they want to build communities around. So I do think that before you even think about actually writing anything or going to the Substack 101 type of things, that's probably the biggest thing that you need to determine. And how you determine that is, actually, Deb, you could probably talk to that a little bit, just in terms of people who want to write books and yet they're not really sure exactly what they want to do. What interests you? What excites you? What do you think will sustain you? What do you think, there's actually an audience for? And I'm kind of guessing that that's what you go through, but I mean, things like that in general. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the Deb method does start with determine your mission.
Yeah.
So figure out your lane. Deb method,
Yeah.
who you are, what makes you unique, and who you help, which again goes across your website, your business, your LinkedIn as well. So think about your Substack in terms of, okay, what do I want to get out of it? And it's not, oh, I want to build an audience for my book. Well, yeah, of course. But you want to give a certain amount of information about this topic to help others. So I think the other point that I will add is remember, it's not about you. I
Right.
talk to people all the time. My book is, I want to share this. Great. But what are your people going to learn from it? I've got my Substack is bookproposals.substack.com, where I share some of the articles or intros to articles that I have in Writer's Digest, and also episodes of the Book Proposal podcast answering frequently asked questions. And my goal is to demystify the publishing and submission process and to help people about how author life actually works. So that is my lane. My lane is empowering would-be authors wherever they are on the stage of it, which is, I guess, my mission is the name, which is Book Proposal Simplified, or that's my motto. My mission is to demystify, inform, and entertain. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess that was my main point. It's like you may know what you want to write about, what you want to talk about, and things like that, but you do need to take it to that next step, essentially, which is
And I
everything that
think
we're
part of that, and part of that next step is, and I just did a quick count. I think there's about 30, 31 main categories in Substack, sports, news, technology, and all that.
Mhm.
That's what you have to think of first. Like, where do I want my Substack to fall under? Because maybe as a book proposal person, is that education? Is that culture? Is that business? Because that will have an impact on you initially getting seen as you're building. And then you can have a second category. And so that's one piece of it. And so I think Bob made excellent advice. Look for those people that you think I don't even say that you're like, but that you vibe with. Like, yes, this is the kind of content I want to create or that I want to be surrounded with. And you will start to see that start to populate your feed more as you follow it. You don't have to subscribe to them. You can just follow them. And so you'll see their notes. You won't necessarily see their article / post because you have to subscribe for that stuff to sometimes pop up. But I think, the first thing to do, which I think Bob hit on a good piece of that, is part of the prerequisite, but is even when you build your profile, think of it no different than, your LinkedIn profile, some of these others, because you're able to create a banner. So does your banner and your, if you want to call it your description, tell people what you're about and why they should follow you? Because you don't get a lot of real estate for that. So I think once you get that going, you don't have to feel like, oh, I got to have a publication right away. But you definitely want to create that profile, because if you don't, there's still a lot of people out there. I guess we call them the orange circle with the green lines around them. You really are not sure, like, is this person even really on the platform? Because, is it worth me following them back if they follow me? Because that's the other thing. When you follow someone, you can see are they even interacting, because it'll show you if they're liking stuff, if they're subscribing to other because you may say, like, until this person, because I don't think they're bots. Maybe they are. Until you start seeing them being active, does it really, matter to interact with them if they're, because maybe they're just so I think make that profile, and then, step 2 would be start engaging in the notes feed. Don't get caught up in the publication piece until you're ready for it.
I think the reason we get so many of those orange line people is in order to subscribe, you need an account.
Yes.
So a lot of people sign up and then they never
do anything.
Bother, right?
They might read stuff. That's true.
Yeah.
But they're not there for content creation. They're there to get your content.
They're lurkers.
In theory,
yes.
Lurkers are your friend. I'm gonna have to look at my category though, because I'm pretty sure it's business, because I do books through the business lens. But now I have to go and give it a makeover, and then reach out to you both to see how I did.
Does that mean you do books through the business lens? I'm like genuinely curious about that.
Oh no, all those some of my clients are writers. The majority of my clients are subject matter experts. So people who put writer later in the hyphen of what they do. But
Gotcha.
and what I tell people fits really well into what you both just said, which is you're writing a book proposal. Great. What is your subject matter? You are now the king or queen or goddess or diva or whatever title you want to give yourself of this subject. And I think this really applies to your subject as well, because you're proving you're the go-to in this. And then the content is, okay, how are you going to show up as that person?
I love what Mitch Jackson said over on Substack, and I think this kind of goes back to what we've been talking about. But he says, run the Claude plugin and have it review your content and then recommend which categories would work best on Substack. Really helps. I think that's a great idea because it can see what you already are doing and, use the tool, right? AI is a tool. That's how I look at it. You're not going to have a avatar Jim on your show. That's not happening.
Thank goodness.
But then I do have a couple of people like, don't use AI, but I know we've got we're never going to make everybody happy, but that's okay. I was in the Marines. I wasn't there to make everybody happy.
Well, exactly. I'm glad that you did the shout out, because even when people tell me AI, I cannot help but wince. That it, as somebody who works with writers who hears way too often, oh, AI is my writing partner. No. AI is a tool.
Cool.
You are the writer of your content. If a sentence looks funny, you can ask them to fix it. If you need advice on categories, fine. But keep that tool in its box. Keep tool in its toolbox, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Bob, you want to add on the getting started front?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of it is what Jim and I have said. Also, just just read some other people. I mean, because you may look at someone and go, oh, I kind of like how the rhythm that they're doing, that they're writing is there as well. I mean, because writing for the screen, whether it's a laptop or a desktop or a phone or whatever screen, it is different from writing for print and things like that. So just kind of look at things as like, oh, that looks like something I can emulate. I mean, not copy obviously, but emulate certain styles and things like that. And that goes for like word count and stuff like that too. I mean, because too short may not be good enough. Too long is definitely not good enough unless it's like really, really, really compelling stuff. And just absorb the platform before you hit publish that very first time.
And Bob, I think something too, and you kind of hit on it, and I think it's important for people to think about. Sometimes things we think should be an article / post should just be a note, because it's really you want to share a thought, but it doesn't really have anything in the bigger context. And then that way, if it's a note, it's like, that's why I equate it to Twitter. You could put it out there multiple times because it's chronological. And I guess a lot of the platforms, except for maybe LinkedIn, are getting the way where it's okay to put repeat content, especially in the notes feed.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't want to do that on your publications. Really think of your publication as your website / blog post. And we didn't necessarily talk about it yet, but there's the chat feature that your subscribers can have access to, where you can kind of like create these little mini forums. Like you put a chat topic out there like, hey, what's keeping you from going live with video? And they can all respond in there, and you can respond to them, individually, as a group. And so that's a nice feature as well, is the chat feature. So I think, yeah.
Something else for my to-do list.
Okay.
I don't use chat nearly as much.
Okay. So think of publications as your website and notes as your social media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Publications are almost like your public, and I know I'm reusing the word, but I can't think of another word for it. It's your
Sometimes you have
publication of
to.
record, essentially. That's where your record is. That's where like your long lasting stuff that you want to be known for. That's where you put that type of stuff.
Okay.
Otherwise, that you get into the whole, that meeting could have been an email type of thing. It's essentially the same thing.
The other way to look at it, as well as when you start, these are the principles for starting anything. So if it's a
Yeah.
website, if it's a podcast, think of it
Yep.
almost like a magazine. You know, those things that used to be made out of
What?
paper that people flip
What are
through?
those? What?
Yeah, right?
What? Yeah, kinda, yeah.
Right? But they
Oh,
have different
doctor's offices, that's right,
those,
yeah.
right. In the
Yeah.
doctor's office, those print things.
Yep.
Doctor's office, barbershop, beauty parlor, whatever the heck.
Partners.
Where you're waiting for appointments, those paper
Yeah.
things that you ignore on the table while you're looking at your phone.
Right,
But they
exactly.
have different categories. They have different, it's almost like, think of it as, what are your features going to be? Are you going to do Q&As? Are you going to do trivia? Are you going to do knowledge? Are you going to do
Mhm.
go live conversations? I've been thinking, I shouldn't say it out loud because then I'll have to do it. Should I say it out loud anyway? Yes, Deb.
Sure.
You're gonna Deb commit to this, so yes.
Deb, commit. Well, so I host the Book Proposal podcast where I'm answering frequently asked questions, and I'm kind of feeling like I need to do it live on Substack. So I'm answering it in real time and then take the answers and turn them into episodes. What do you think?
Yeah. Any
Okay.
excuse for content is a good excuse for almost any. I shouldn't say any because you never know, but almost any
Well, the
Well,
challenge
is a
the
good excuse.
challenge I have, which is why I love doing live shows so much, is when I've previously released episodes, I script them so they're focused and short. But they also sound like they're scripted. And I like
Mm.
this step better.
Well, so here's what I'm gonna throw it at you, Deb. So go live on Substack only,
Yes.
okay? And you have to remember that when the live is over, you don't have to publish it. So if you're having a Q&A in Substack and you either do or don't get a lot of, I guess you want to say engagement, you don't have to worry about that because now you save it, but you may get enough nuggets from people asking questions and you're answering them that now you can turn those into clips because of the AI or the back end of Substack that allows you to now share it on your socials as, here's some of the things that I've answered. These are frequently asked questions, right? That you now maybe it gives you an idea for some articles for your publication, post, whatever we're going to call them, Bob. So, I think that to me, even sometimes, like, because you can go live on your phone on Substack, right? You don't have to be using Restream. So I have done this. Chris and I have done this where I was at a conference. Shure had a booth, and we went live using the phone on Substack, and we talked to Mario from Shure about the different microphones and how people could use them. And then when it was over, it went to the dark corners of the universe, and then we turned it into an article later for our Dealcasters page. Even though I went live initially as Jim Fuhs, I didn't go live as Dealcasters. So just the fact that you can, and I've told people this too, like, if you go live, even if you record something, you can upload it to Substack and then repurpose that. Even if you want to just take a video you recorded, you can repurpose it. It can create clips for you. It can create the transcript for you that you can now use in other places. So I think what you're talking about is a good idea. That would actually even be a good idea for your paid subscribers. You're going to go live only to your paid subscribers to have this Q&A session. And it doesn't have to be fancy. You can go live in Substack without using any of this.
I am giving myself so much homework from this conversation.
You're welcome.
Thank you both. Because, and I think that I can do this where instead of recording 4 episodes separately, answer at least 4 questions, and then when I need new episodes, do another Ask Deb, and then turn them not only into clips, but into episodes of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And that way I will get over my over scripting if I don't know what questions are going to be asked, which would be super helpful. I know that this is, as for someone who likes to talk as much as I do, I dislike a script more than just about anything on the planet, because I will bring it back to the conversation. Substack is a way for you to have conversation with community, yours and others, to interact, and you do it via video, chat, article/posts, and notes.
And there's even a couple people, I don't know if you follow Keith Keller on Substack. He's been using Restream now. Granted, part of it's because he's in Australia and has very low band internet. They just use audio avatars, and they'll go live on Substack, basically having an audio conversation, and people will get, brought on. And so that's another way to create some content. I mean, for me, my preference is still, I want to see Bob's face. I want to see your face. And so it's almost like a Clubhouse sort of thing by using Substack. And I think it's got its merits. I just don't know, how much people will actually embrace that. I think people like to see the video. And then, of course, recently, Deb, I don't know if you have used this, there is also the recording studio. So now, you can go into the recording studio, and I could invite you and Bob, and we could record a conversation of the 3 of us just using Substack, and we don't have to go live. So they're giving us ways to create content without having to go live and potentially deal with all the gremlins of the interweb. So I think that's where it is becoming, in a sense, a standalone type of platform, which lets you do everything, but it also still lets you use tools like Restream, like Ecamm, like StreamYard, even Zoom, to enhance your video production.
Now, I just subscribed to Keith Keller, and he is also a very good example because his Substack is social audio decoded. So he is doing the things that he is teaching people, which is the point, right?
Yep. Yeah, there it is right there. I'm looking at it now. That's very cool.
Okay, I don't think we've given people enough homework. So, guys, what goals? Well, you've given me plenty. I would love from each of you a goal for Substack. And it can be for getting started, it can be for up leveling. You could do one of each. Just don't repeat yourself. Maybe. Okay, Bob, what goal are you gifting today?
Gifting for other people to do, you mean?
Yeah, for other people to do. Oh, and then that's good. Afterwards, I'm going to make each of us share a goal for yourself. So let's start with gifting goals for others. Bob? It's your fault because you made me.
I think it's just spend time on the platform and write notes. I mean, notes don't have to take a whole lot. I mean, I was going to say, don't take a whole lot of thought. Yeah, you should put some thought into it. They don't necessarily need a lot of time to do. And also interact and reply with other people and like other people as well. You got to start somewhere. If you haven't started already, you got to start somewhere.
And it's very similar to LinkedIn strategy. Add value. Be seen.
Yep.
Okay, great. Jim, goal?
All right, so I have 2 in mind. Am I only allowed to do 1?
No, you could totally do both.
All right, so my first one would be, if you're creating vertical video, and if you haven't, start, you can upload these vertical video as notes. So I today took some time to do a 5, I guess you'll call it video series of 5 reasons why a business should create video. Instead of making it one long video, I'm chopping it up. So each one's about a minute long, right? But you'll have to kind of subscribe or follow me to see all 5 of them. So that would be one thing, is record a video, right? I'm not telling you go live, record a video, get over the fear of creating vertical video, because you can still take that same video, put it on LinkedIn. They like that. YouTube, you name it. So that you can do it with your phone and a decent microphone. The second one, which is a little more challenging, but I think is
More
definitely
challenging than videos? Okay, go.
well, I think it is. It is. This is where you're helping other people. If I read a good article on Substack gives you the ability to highlight that article, and it creates a clip that you can then share as a note, or you can even share it on other social platforms. And if people click that highlight, it will take them to the full article. So it's kind of like you see that nugget that somebody wrote about, you can highlight it and share it. And it's a pretty neat little feature that I don't think people do enough. In fact, so my goal is to try to do that at least 3 times a week now, instead of just once a week.
Nice.
And because I think for me, that's where, and I do it because that's just my mindset of where I am in life. And maybe as I've grown up, is I like to help other people succeed, whether it's being a leader in the military, being a parent, being a coach. So if I can promote other people and they get, value from that promotion, that's all that matters to me. It's not about me. And I've gotten people say, hey, I really appreciate you sharing my stuff. And I share it because they're creating good stuff. I'm not sharing it just for the sake of sharing. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Nice. I like it. Bob, what goal are you doing?
Video. That one's real easy, actually. Video, specifically on Substack. Definitely video. I've been telling myself for a while. I finally got our Restream hooked up to my channel on Restream. So yeah, that's it's a big one for me.
Yeah, and because you can do portrait video on it too right now, Bob. So you can create your own little. So that way, just record it in Restream. I did one the other day where I can't remember if I shared it to Substack, but I was showing people how with Ecamm, I created a video. The one I shared was the vertical, but it also at the same time had done a landscape.
Oh, neat.
So you have 2 recordings, and you can decide, well, which one do I want to use? But you have to think through it because they're not going to look the same, and so it's a little bit of planning.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Well, and it is showing me in studio the way in which we look, horizontal and portrait, or landscape and portrait. And the portrait looks really cool because it's the 3 of us stacked up.
Oh, I see that.
We're the only ones who are seeing it. So sorry, world.
So that's the one you could have sent to YouTube as a live.
Oh, that's why it does that. We were wondering why it was doing that when we discovered it last week. It's like, okay, that's cool, but why is it doing that? Now I get it.
And Instagram even.
Yeah. Yeah, Instagram is such a pain to go live on, though.
Yep.
It's a real pain, and they have got to figure that out, because there's just too much techie stuff to go through that I won't even get into, because I don't remember it, but I just remember looking at it and going, no.
You're right. It's a lot of work. Yep.
Yeah.
I wanted for each, well, but for Substack,
you've got to be like a coder practically to get the thing up and going.
Yep.
Yeah. Seriously.
Unless you just do it from your phone and then you don't have the bells and the whistles, right? For Instagram.
Can you go live on Instagram just with a phone?
You can.
Okay.
But it's not, but it's clunky, and usually it's just, if I'm at an event, I'll do a quick, hey,
quick hit type of thing.
Yeah. But that's really the only way that I go live on Instagram either. I want to do a quick thank you because we have Lisa and Lauren join in, and Lauren is very pro outline, no script. And I was complaining. I was complaining is not the word. I was admitting my script challenges to someone, and she said, "Deb, you tell everybody at Pitcherama that they can't use a script. Why the heck are you using one?" And I felt very caught at that time. So I guess my goal then is I'm going to do all of the things, but including setting up a monthly Substack AMA to use for my podcast up. So
Yeah, I think that's a great
I've
idea.
admitted to a lot of things. I will do most of them. Oh, and then Stephen just joined us again, another person come from our friend Meryl Cass. So welcome. And to all of the people who I cannot name drop who are watching through Jim's Substack. We are glad you're here. Guys, I knew we'd go over. I think the
That's okay.
last time we went an hour and a half. I don't think we'll do
Yeah,
that
I
much.
think so, yeah.
But
Yeah.
before we get to final thoughts, will you please share where people can find you in addition to, or is it only, I think it is only Substack for you, Jim.
I wouldn't say it's my only, it's my preference, but I am also on LinkedIn and YouTube and all the other tubes. But yeah, I connect more with Substack, and I would say LinkedIn be the top two. Because
Okay.
the other ones make it hard to connect and communicate.
Yep. Could not agree more
Right.
with that.
And Bob?
Yeah, me, it's me. I will go double fisted with Substack and LinkedIn as well. And I'm easily found on LinkedIn, on there a lot, publish a lot, yada yada yada, all that stuff.
Okay, and I am at the Deb Method everywhere. And if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you will get the recap, the replay, the goals, and you can hold us to all the things that we discovered that we're going to start playing with and do more of. And if you're interested in learning more
Especially Deb.
about what?
Especially you, Deb.
Yes, especially me. And if you want to learn more about how I help thought leaders turn their ideas into book proposals that get attention from agents and publishers, and I've got a ton of articles and resources, including the link to my Substack. You can learn more at thebookproposalexpert.com. And if you want more help with your goals, grab a copy of your goal guide and or 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting at your favorite place to buy books. I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I know I really need to swap out the Facebook for the Substack. So, but that'll be next month's goal.
There you go. That's an easy goal.
We gave me a bunch of stuff for May. We will see what June brings, but I am so incredibly grateful because whenever we do these, and we will do them again, I come back with a lot of homework. And this is the other thing I want our audience to keep in mind. You don't have to do all of the things. Even
No.
if you do one or two, it's going, especially in something like LinkedIn where people aren't creating a lot of content, or Substack where people are still getting their feet and their toes in the water. Even if you're doing a little, you are going to be way ahead of the game. Okay, final thought time. Bob, final thought?
Yeah, just just like Deb just said with goals, when it comes to Substack, just start doing it. I mean, literally just start doing it. And I think that it's easy to catch the bug. And that's when you start setting these goals, once you have caught the bug, to keep you going. But don't, almost dropped something there. But don't overdo it at the same time. That's probably the other thing. Don't overdo it. Don't be like publishing 85 notes in a day and trying to get an article out every day as well. Start just deliberately slow, see what you can do, and then keep that pace going.
Oh, that is so important, because that's why there are, what is it, so many podcasts that people do only like
Yeah.
5 and then they stop,
Yeah,
or they
and then
start a
abandon.
blog.
Yeah.
Burnout is a thing.
Yes, it's a
But
real thing.
but I love how you put it. Just do it, but don't overdo it. Or as I say, you want to set yourself up for success, and that's
Okay.
how you do it. You look at your life, see what you could do, and just do the things.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, Jim, final thought to you.
I mean, I'd say it's a little bit of a spin-off of what Bob is talking about, and I would say quality over quantity. Don't feel
Mhm.
like even if you start a publication, like, oh, I've got to publish every week, and if I don't, people are gonna think that I, have gone off the rails. And because the other thing which I find kind of funny sometimes is there's this thing going on where people are tired of the people that all they write about on Substack is how to get more followers on Substack.
Substack, yeah.
And so actually, just engage, learn. I think I've even had people say, because sure, I talk about things that relate to using Substack, but I don't sit there like, oh, well, if you do these live videos, you're going to have thousands of subscribers and make millions. It's like, that's not, to me, it's about, how can I create a quality publication? Because what I like about it, and Bob kind of hit on this earlier, like when you go there, it's like my flagship that shows you all these different things that I do that can help you. And that's what builds that connection where it's not as easy to do on these other platforms. And so I think in the big picture, Substack actually simplifies things if you'll actually take the time to learn it.
It's really funny that you mentioned all the people who Substack about growing Substack, because I always save them as new and I never read them.
That's funny.
This has been, like I said, a lot of fun, a lot of future work for me, a lot of future work for some of you, but it's not really, if you think about it. Why do you do what you do? Why do you show up on a podcast, on your website, on your Substack, your LinkedIn? There is obviously a subject matter that you are passionate about. And I think that's the bottom line, going to, figure out your lane, what Bob was talking about, and figure out your categories, as Jim was saying. Look at the impact that you want to make and create a Substack and a persona on Substack that brings that out in the world. Thank you again, Jim Fuhs and Bob Woods. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm Debra Eckerling, live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and at some point also consistently on Substack. And again, go to thedebmethod.com/blog and find everybody's Substacks and LinkedIn and connect with us all. Keep us posted. Whatever your goals are, you need to be seen. And to be seen, you need to participate in social media. Remember to make it social. Go on out there, go for it, because we know you can do it. Thanks, everyone.